A busy morning already in the NBA. Masai Ujiri, the shocker, out in Toronto. What is that going to mean for his future and the future of the Raptors? Plus, Ace Bailey refusing to report to the Utah Jazz. What is going to happen now? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications. It's going to be a busy season, so hit that subscribe button. All right, let's start off here with the breaking news this morning. Masai Ujiri out as vice chairman and president of the Toronto Raptors. He was entering the final year of his contract. Now, Masai, widely known as one of the best executives around the NBA. Go ahead and start your rumor engines here, as obviously the Lakers getting Mark Walter to take over as the new majority owner, and suddenly one of the top executives, Mark Walter, known for spending in every area of the team that he can. And suddenly one of the top executives becomes available. But there were rumors some months ago connecting Masai to the Atlanta Hawks job, potentially taking over there. I think he will be in high demand, and he will not be sitting out there on the market for particularly long. So I don't think Lakers GM Rob Pelinka needs to necessarily feel like he's on the hot seat just yet here. But nonetheless, Masai Ujiri, he's going to have a lot of choices here in what he wants to do, because he is that well known around the NBA as being a quality executive. A little bit of a surprise here, but the Raptors say everything's going to be fine. Everything's business as usual. They'll start a search for his successor. In fact, here is the official statement by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment on Masai and what the Raptors are going to do from here. It said, during his 13 seasons with the Raptors, Masai has helped transform the organization on the court and has been an inspirational leader off of it. He brought an NBA championship to Toronto and urged us to believe in this city and ourselves. We're grateful for all he has done and wish him and his family the very best as we plan the future of the franchise and its return to the NBA playoffs. A search for a successor as president of the Raptors, led by CAA executive search, will begin immediately. So the Raptors are going to try to find a successor for Masai Ujiri, but he is out in Toronto. Meanwhile, quick note in Houston, they are working on getting an extension done for Kevin Durant so that he can hopefully finish his career as a Houston Rocket, but they're also now shopping Cam Whitmore, according to Kelly Iko of The Athletic. The situation is best described as fluid right now. Cam Whitmore, a young player, infamously fell in the NBA draft a few years ago, fell from number 5 all the way to 20. You look last season, his opportunities actually decreased in his sophomore year in the NBA, averaged 9.4 points, 3 rebounds per game while shooting 36% from 3. Similar numbers to the ones he put up the season before. However, you look, the minutes have dropped off from almost 19 to down to 16, and there may just not be enough room in the Rockets' very crowded rotation for Cam Whitmore. Look, this is part of the reason why I was more than fine with the Rockets giving up the 10th pick in this year's draft in order to go get Kevin Durant. It's because the Houston Rockets, they don't have a lot of room in their rotation to add another player to the mix as it is. This is a very, very stacked team. There's a number of incredible talents that they've got on this roster. And so if you bring in somebody, I'd say the 10th pick overall, what are the chances they're actually going to play? Reed Shepherd, the 3rd pick overall, really struggled to get on the court for the Houston Rockets last season. So the Rockets giving up the 10th pick in this draft to get Kevin Durant made sense. You need to start to consolidate some of these assets so that you can put the best of the best on the floor, and you're not dealing with a minutes crunch like this. Cam Whitmore caught in the midst of all of that. And now if you're the Houston Rockets, the question is, if you're going to move on from Cam Whitmore, what are you going to get in return? Are you just going to try to get some type of future asset in order to kick the can down the road so that you've got something for the future? Maybe you can pick up a future draft pick or something like that, and then it's nothing that's going to take up a roster spot right now? Or do you try to combine Cam Whitmore with someone else on your roster and go get another upgrade somewhere? Cam Whitmore, $3.5 million under contract this coming season, then the team option for $5.4 million the season after that before he would hit restricted free agency. So another trade situation to keep an eye on in the NBA. Cam Whitmore, apparently on the block, and somebody that the Rockets are going to look to try to move on from. The opportunities just not great enough with Houston, particularly now with the arrival of Kevin Durant on the wing. All right, last but not least, another player that was drafted, but in this case was not so happy that he got drafted. Ace Bailey, taken 5th overall by the Utah Jazz, has yet to show up. Ace Bailey has not actually showed up in Utah yet. Pretty customary for players as soon as they get drafted to go hop on a plane and go to their new team. That has not happened with Ace Bailey. Walter Clayton Jr. has already done it Ace Bailey, not so much. Here's Brian Windhorst on how he thinks the Jazz are going to respond to this situation.
If he doesn't want to be there and he doesn't show up and this starts to get ugly, do you see the Jazz ultimately giving in?
I do not. I do not think any team in this situation would give in. They have the ultimate position, and I do not see Danny Ainge giving in. And here's the bottom line. The Utah Jazz play in Salt Lake City, and I say this as somebody who lives in the middle of the country. They cannot worry about whether a player wants to be in Salt Lake City or whether he loves the fit on their roster. They have to draft and develop the most talented players they can. That is why they took him, despite him not working out, and they will absolutely not budge on this. And eventually Ace Bailey is going to be a Utah Jazz. We'll just see how long it takes for him and his representation to figure that out.
Eventually, Ace Bailey's going to be a Utah Jazz. We'll just see how long it takes for him and his representation to figure that out. Now, Ace did not look super thrilled to be selected by the Jazz on draft night. There were reports going around that there was one team in the top 5, maybe it was Utah, that he told, if you draft me, I will not report. He did everything he could to try to force his way to Washington, New Orleans, or Brooklyn. That was the 6, 7, 8 pick in the draft. The Jazz took him at 5. So Ace Bailey even last minute shut down a workout with the 3rd pick team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Last minute shut it down, said, nope, not going to show up for that. Everything he could to try to get his way to that 6th, 7th, or 8th pick. Didn't work. The Jazz called him, said, no, you're one of the better players out here. We think you're the best talent available. We're going to take you. This is Tony Jones of The Athletic, said on Thursday night, reports surfaced that Bailey is having second thoughts about reporting to the Jazz, which has forced the Jazz to address the situation. He was visibly not happy being selected by Utah. And in the days and weeks leading up to the draft, it became clear that he and his representation were trying to force a desired outcome from Wednesday night. Bailey didn't work out for a single team, the only lottery prospect to do so. And he had a workout schedule with the Philadelphia 76ers, but that was canceled. Thursday night, Avery Bradley, Utah's vice president of player development, seemed unbothered. But the fact that the situation was being talked about forced him to discuss it. Yeah, Utah's going to put a positive spin on this. Utah's just going to put a smile on their face and say everything's going to be fine. He said, for me, it's my understanding all of our draft picks will be here this weekend and preparing for Summer League. Summer League starts up for Utah. They've got their own Summer League starting up on July 5th. So, I mean, this is fast. Very quickly, Ace Bailey is going to be expected to be in uniform with the Utah Jazz at Summer League. So what could potentially happen here if Ace Bailey just says, I don't want to go to Utah, period. I'm not going to show up. You drafted me, but I'm not going to show up. Well, the Utah Jazz will hold his rights. The Utah Jazz, it's not like he can just decide to go play for another NBA team. He doesn't sign his contract with the Jazz still have his rights. Whether he goes and plays overseas or anything else happens, the Jazz will still have his rights. If he wants to play NBA basketball, it's going to happen through the Utah Jazz. Now, we have seen some situations in the past where a player has been able to force a trade to another team. We saw it with Steve Francis and the Vancouver Grizzlies way back in the day, but that's really rare. And Danny Ainge doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to bend on something like this. And part of this, too, if you're Utah, this isn't just about Ace Bailey. This is about sending the message for the future as well. And frankly, for all of the clubs that are seen as not desirable landing spots for players in free agency. The Utah Jazz, as Tony Jones mentions later in this piece for The Athletic, the Utah Jazz have had situations before where they've tried to trade for a player and had the agent for that player step in and stop the trade by saying, I would refuse to extend. I don't want to be in Utah. Look, there's some NBA players that prefer the nightlife in other cities. They prefer perhaps the weather somewhere else. Look, Utah is beautiful. It's a beautiful place, but there are some NBA players who would prefer to be somewhere else. So what the Jazz can't allow to happen here, given that they are not a major free agent destination, is that they give in to Ace Bailey. Why? Because that is going to set the precedent for the future. They draft somebody else. Next year, they draft somebody, and that player says, well, I want to be in New York City. I don't want to be in Utah. Look, that's all well and good, but that's not what you sign up for when you designate yourself draftable by the NBA. You're going to play for whatever team drafts you, whether it's Utah, whether it's New York, whether it's LA, whether it's Miami, Chicago, does not matter. You need to report and play for the team that drafts you. That's the deal that you signed up for, and you're going to get paid millions of dollars to do it. Utah doesn't want to set that precedent that players can weasel their way out of reporting to their team just because they don't want to be in Utah. They already have a hard enough time finding guys in free agency. You can't also go and provide an out against you drafting talented players. That is one of the best avenues that the Jazz have to add players to their roster. So I'm on the side of the Jazz here. You take the best pick available. Even if the guy is telling you don't draft me, even if the guy is doing everything he can to make it uncomfortable for you, you have to take the top talent and call them on it. Don't let guys get away with stuff like this. He needs to report to the Jazz, and I believe ultimately he will. Ultimately, he will report to the Utah Jazz. But I think Utah needs to stay strong here because you don't want to set the precedent of this being a thing in the NBA draft. Otherwise, you've got a real mess on your hands. So hopefully Ace Bailey will indeed report to the Jazz. And again, he doesn't have a lot of options here. If he wants to get paid, he wants to get into the NBA, it's going to have to go through the Utah Jazz. And I would be shocked if this turns into an Ace Bailey trade situation here, because again, that also would not be great for the future of the Utah Jazz or any of these other teams that are considered to be undesirable landing spots in the draft. But everybody give me your thoughts in the comments down below. Cam Whitmore on the trade block, Masai Ujiri suddenly hitting the market as an executive out of contract now, being let go by the Toronto Raptors, and Ace Bailey, will he actually show up in Utah? Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.